Good morning, friends. Om Namah Shivaya. Today we are talking about Shiva Ideal. Because Shivaratri is close, it's on 27th of February at 6:30 p.m. We'll have a puja here. Shiva, as you have seen, is in Hindu deities. You'll find many forms of God, the God in various forms. And Shiva stands unique. We have Krishna, very popular form of God, or Rama, or we have Vishnu. Brahma is also a form of God, not worshipped, but Shiva is very popular and also very, very different from others. If you see Krishna looking beautiful and adorned with ornaments and having he has a crown on his head and feather and has a flute. So much of beauty is there in Krishna. If you see Vishnu, very costly apparels and sitting and gorgeous with dresses and ornaments, all you find in Vishnu. Like that, in all gods you find wonderful bodies, like the great king, as God is said to be a king of kings. You find those things in different forms of God depicted. But Shiva stands so different in depiction. It is called Mahadeva. It's not called Maharaja, the great king, but it's called God of gods. So, and what is he? How does he look? How we see his form? And mind you that his form is not someone just tried to make it and thought and how to paint Shiva like that. But it was revealed in meditation to the people who thought of the high ideal, what the God should like, what really is the relation between the divinity and the world. And they found that world that attracts us with so many things are not necessarily important to be divine, to be peaceful, to be happy in life. In fact, the world binds us with its attraction, and if we have strength enough to get away from this attraction of the world, and then we can establish ourselves in divinity. The song being sung today was I am Shiva. What type of Shiva? Chidananda Rupa Shiva. Shiva means auspiciousness, the goodness, the purity, holiness. I am that. And that is of the nature of consciousness and bliss. Chit Ananda. Chit means pure consciousness and Ananda means bliss. I am that blissful consciousness, that auspiciousness, that is my nature. I that is attracted to the world, I who fail sometime, I feel sick, I feel weak, that is not real nature. My real nature is that. And the song that was sung beautifully, it said in 6 verses, written by Shankaracharya, beautiful on the philosophy of who I am, beautifully depicted in the very nutshell in 6 verses. The 5 verses negates the world, that I am neither the mind, nor the intellect, nor the ego, nor the vital force, and nor the sense organs, neither throat, ears, eyes, all these are not I. These are maybe my instruments, but I am none of these. So who I am, the 6th verse it is said in the positive way, I am that all-pervading spirit, vibhutva sarvatra sarvendriyanam. And I am the one who make of my senses active, but I am not the senses. Senses act because I am there. So that is my nature, I am Shiva. So we try to find that my real nature in the Shiva ideal. And the saint who must have seen in vision the Shiva must have gone deep into his own thought, who I am, in search of his own self. And in front of him comes the form of Shiva. Shiva, who is meditating in an uncrowded, lonely place, like in the cremation ground or the high Himalayas. And what he has on his body is almost naked, and he wears something somewhere, so we found tiger skin, he wears the tiger skin. And for his decoration of the body, this God of gods, the Supreme Being, he has some snakes as a necklace, And the bracelets only decorated with snakes. And what does he wear in that cold or lonely place? Some ashes from the cremation ground. So that is the Shiva. It seems to be very abominable. So living in the cremation ground, smearing the ashes and perhaps ashes from the fire, burning from the cremated body, and having the snakes. And who are Shiva's companions? Like Vishnu had Jaya and Vijaya, the gatekeepers, all dressed in a royal dress, and they are the gatekeepers. Who are companions and associates of Shiva? Goblins, ghosts, free spirits, like that are the Shiva's companions. Vishnu has Garuda, beautiful celestial bird who takes him from one place to another through on the air. And who is Shiva's vehicle? It is an old bull, not even young bull, old bull called Nandi. How will he walk fast? So that is Shiva depicted. And for his instrument, he has damaru, one drum on two sides that is beaten, that makes sound with some small strings hanging to it. So damaru is his the drum, small hand drum is his musical instrument, not the beautiful veena like Saraswati or the flute like Krishna's. And for his vehicle is that, companions are that, and all those snakes and this whatever is there, those are all his associates. All they find place there. So that is the Shiva, that person who was searching his own self, he found this image in front of him. So that this image depicts our real self. How does it represent our real self? The real self has no connection with the glittering of the world. It is free from the attachment with the worldly things. That self doesn't need to be decorated with gold and ornaments and precious jewels to become beautiful or nice. The self or the Atman or real nature is beautiful by itself. It doesn't need to be added on something. When one needs to add something to become beautiful, when one feels that person is not yet fully beautiful, fully handsome. So that person needs to add on to that to become more beautiful or really beautiful. The one who is already beautiful, it doesn't need to add anything. It knows it's fully beautiful, it's complete, it's full. Purnamada Purnamidam is Purna. So Shiva ideal is self doesn't need anything to beautify because it is beautiful by itself. The Shastras say, this Atma va Ati Sundar, it is extremely beautiful, is our soul. And when we can't find our soul and we think that this body is ourself, and then we try to decorate and try to match with the idea of the beauty that our soul, our self is, our Atman is. But it never matches the real beauty of ourself unless that self is revealed. And how the beauty of self is revealed? When the self is revealed as the Shiva. What does Shiva do? First, Shiva accepts those who are rejected by the world. These goblins who likes the free spirits and goblins and ghosts, we all are afraid of those. And Shiva says, come to me. Those who are not accepted or got chance to get to anyone, come to me. I am always there for you. So Shiva is the one who invites, who are rejected everywhere, who don't find solace and place at other place. Shiva is there, always there to welcome us. That is wonderful ideal of Shiva. Always ready to accept anyone who comes to him. So there is no distinction. Anyone, you may be not accepted by the world, you may have failed to other place, you may have not been successful in the worldly endeavors. Shiva is always ready to greet you and accept you. And what does Shiva do? Shiva is very indifferent to the things of the world. There are many stories of Shiva. One beautiful story that often is told is about the Samudra Manthana, churning of the ocean. The mythological story goes that the demons and gods, the two forces of the beings, good and evil, they both heard that there is a lot of treasures in the ocean. So, and there is nectar by drinking which one will become immortal, that is in the ocean. Now, they wanted to have that nectar. But alone they could not do that because they need greater force. So to have that nectar, both of them joined hands and said, let us go and churn the ocean, and when the ocean is churned, the nectar will come. There are many riches and the jewels in the ocean that will come. So both these opposing forces came together to get something better for both of them, and said that we will share that. Then, when they started churning, nice things started coming. So came like a Kamadhenu, one beautiful celestial cow who will give anything that is needed, plenty of givers of plenty. Came a Parijat tree, the wish-fulfilling tree, and all that was taken by gods. Gods are very clever. And then came one beautiful horse that is also taken by Indra. And one white elephant, Airavata, that is also taken by Indra. So all these things were coming, and demons were also trying to find what we get next thing. So whatever came, someone put their hand and just took it away, like that it was going on. So finally they found one very liquidy thing coming, very poisonous it started coming. They never guessed that. A great, very intense and poison started coming, called Kalakuta or Halahala. It was so dangerous that it could destroy the whole creation. Now, what to do? The gods do not know, and demons also do not know, and don't have any solution. They cannot even diffuse it. It was such a dangerous poison. Now Vishnu says, now the gods, they had to go to rush to gods. Vishnu says, no, I can't do anything, I'm powerless to do. Brahma also doesn't say I can't do anything. In all these places, Brahma, Vishnu, all had come. But one being was totally indifferent and not searching for this nectar, because he had already found the nectar. He was deep meditating in somewhere in the Himalayas, in Kailas, and he was Shiva. Finally, he was not attracted with any riches of the world. So finally they ran there and said, Shiva, we are in danger. This Halahala has come. This great intense poison has come. So how will you be saved? Shiva, please do something, otherwise whole universe will be destroyed. We will be destroyed, whole universe will be destroyed. When such type of challenge came, Shiva, which was not in the play at all, then he said, I will try to save the world, save the creation. There comes the ideal of Shiva, who is always ready to do whatever is needed to do. And such a poison, he takes the poison and drinks it. And drinks it in such a way, he was a great yogi, you see. He drank it, but it should not go to the stomach. So he could just fix that poison in the throat. And that was so dangerous poison that even Shiva, the great yogi, the god of gods, he also had some effect shown with that poison, and his whole throat became blue with the effect of the poison. That's why Shiva, another name is blue-throated one, Nilakantha, the one who had blue throat. That's one of the epithets of Shiva. So Shiva here shows the intensity, the attitude of sacrifice. He could sacrifice everything for the sake of others. And he was ready to do that. That is the ideal of Shiva. Not attracted to any things of the world. Know that the worldly things really don't matter for our real life. Those worldly glitterings and all those attractions. Second, he could accept whatever the world's others refuse. Come anyone who don't get shelter anywhere, like the Jesus said, oh, you come to me, whoever are tired and who are labor and tired, you come to me. Like that was Shiva's ideal. Whoever didn't find any place, come to me. And Shiva is always ready to accept. And then was his ideal to sacrifice. So like that, his Shiva's ideal stands for these three particular functions. His readiness to sacrifice and be of service to others. Always he was there. Sri Ramakrishna said that where is that Shiva to be found? Such ideal of self-sacrifice, of love for all, of being self-controlled. Where is that ideal to be found? He said this ideal is present in every being. Inner core of every human being is this ideal. The jiva The individual soul is nothing but Shiva, is that ideal. And he said, Jiva is Shiva. The individual soul is that supreme God. And to serve, you want to serve God, worship God, then serve that human beings. The Lord sitting in that human being will bless you. That was Shiva's, the Sri Ramakrishna said, saying that Jiva is Shiva. And he said, if we can serve human beings with that attitude, that there is God residing in him, or God has come in the form of this human being. In one of the verses it says, O Shiva, you have become all form, all faces, all heads are in fact your faces and your heads. Like that in the Gita also you find. So if you can do that with that attitude, trying to connect yourself with God, with divinity, and serve man, then you will reach God. Shiva Jnane Jiva Seva, serving Jiva with the knowledge that he or she is veritably Shiva himself. Shiva, as is depicted, he was a devotee. He was a god of gods, and yet he was a devotee. Devotee of whom? He was a devotee of Rama. Shiva was even before Rama was born. So how was he devoted to Rama? Rama is the name of God. Rama means who gives immense joy. That is the technical name of Rama. So Shiva always repeated the name of Rama. Always that is there. He always used to say Ram, Ram. That is the name. He repeats Ram now. Shiva wanted to enjoy, to become real devotee as a created being of Rama. So Shiva is celestial being, he was never born, he is not created. He is Nitya Avatara, he was never born. So, but he wanted to enjoy the bliss of being a creature who loves Ram intensely. Now, how to do this? To fulfill this wish, it is said that he was born as Hanuman. Hanuman, the monkey god, who was extremely devoted to Rama, was no one but Shiva himself. Shiva came in the form of monkey god, in the form of monkey Hanuman, to enjoy the bliss of devotion, how a creature, how a living being finds joy in devotion to God, in totally surrendering to God, in serving to God with all his might or her might, her power. So that he became Shiva, that he became Hanuman. We find Shiva associated with Sri Ramakrishna, with Swami Vivekananda, and with Holy Mother also. Even before birth, we know that Sri Ramakrishna's birth happened by two types of visions. One was his father had a vision in Vishnu temple that Vishnu said, I want to be born as your son. But here, Sri Ramakrishna's mother had another vision. She had gone to worship Shiva in a small temple near her house in Kamarpukur, and she finds a flood of light coming from the Shiva image, Shiva Linga, and entering into her womb, and she felt that she is having a child there with that thing. So it is said that Shiva came as Sri Ramakrishna. There he sees Vishnu as Sri Ramakrishna. So often people depict that Sri Ramakrishna has the qualities of both Vishnu and Shiva. In Kamarpukur temple, if you see, at the top of the temple, there is not a spire or there is not the conical like things like other places. There is a Shiva Linga at the top, which depicts that the Shiva is born as Sri Ramakrishna. And Swami Vivekananda's connection with Shiva, we all know. His very nature was Shiva. People saw him, and when he was meditating, people saw him like Buddha or Shiva. That was always Swami Vivekananda reminded to the people, to the devotees, by his detachment, by his action, by his love, by his accepting everyone. That was Swami Vivekananda, always connected with Shiva. And before his birth, he was born by the prayers of his mother's relative in Benares to a Shiva temple. It's called Vireshwara Shiva. So he was born by that prayer, and the power of Shiva came to Swami Vivekananda. He had, though Shiva is not said to have incarnation like Vishnu has, someone is born as Shiva is born as a human being, but the Shiva quality is manifested through many persons. like Swami Vivekananda, like Shankaracharya, the great prophet, the great Acharya. He was also considered to be a Shiva manifested. As the song we heard, and the scriptures that he wrote, the commentary that he wrote, the life that he exemplified, all show that he was an incarnation of Shiva, in that he might be a human being, but through whom the Shiva fully manifested. He was a moving Shiva, like Swami Vivekananda. So Swami Vivekananda also before birth was connected with Shiva because his mother's relative worshipped for a son for Swami Vivekananda's mother to a Shiva temple in Benares. How was Holy Mother connected with Shiva before birth? You know that Holy Mother's mother, Shyama Sundari Devi, had gone under a bilwa tree, and one small girl from that bilwa tree, that wood apple tree, comes down, clasps her neck and says, I want to be born as your daughter. I'm going to be born as your daughter. And that tree, that Bale tree, a bilwa tree, is very sacred to Shiva, very dear to Shiva. They say Shiva becomes pleased if you offer that leaf to Shiva. Shiva is so Ashutosh, is so easily pleased. There are many stories how Shiva becomes so easily pleased, and he grants boon to anyone. He is one of the very simplest person. Without any thinking, when he becomes pleased, without any thinking, he grants boon. So he doesn't calculate, Shiva doesn't calculate what will happen. He can be pleased very easily with what? With some leaf you offer, some water you offer. Sri Krishna says in the Gita that I am pleased with anything offered to me, be it a water or a leaf or a flower or a fruit. 4 things he said. But Shiva, only 2 things, water and leaf, bilwa leaf and water. Done, everything is pleased. And if you ask him, he is ready to grant you whatever you ask. Your prayer should be sincere. Then Shiva will grant. You want spiritual enlightenment? Shiva will say, Tathastu, you are granted. You want other things of the world? Shiva will grant that way. There was one Bhasmasura, the one demon, and he wanted to have boon to become immortal and to become all victorious. And he did lot of penance, and finally to Shiva, whom to worship. Whenever they have to ask something good, to please Shiva is so easy. So he does penance, and Shiva comes. And the Asura, the demon, asked Shiva. Shiva asked him, what do you want? He says, I want to be all victorious, that I will conquer everyone. So for that, what do you want? Can you give me that whomever I put hand on whoever's head, that person turns into ashes? I want that person, on whomever hand I put that my hand, I touch his hand or her head, that person dies instantly and turns into ash. Shiva, without any thought, he said, okay, that is granted, because he has pleased him. And after that, after all it was a demon, he did worship Shiva with an intention, but then he wanted to test whether this boon is true or not. Then what he does, he finds in front of him Shiva is there. Then he says, I want to test your boon, whether it is right, it is powerful or not. So let me put my hand on your head. Shiva knows it is true. Shiva's thing is not false. Then Shiva says, what are you doing? If you put your hand on my head, I will turn into ash. I will just be burnt to the ashes. And Shiva started running to save himself. Bhasmasura finds joy and he runs behind him just to test. And then Shiva goes to Vishnu. Says, save me. What happened? Oh, such demon prayed so much, then he asked something to do. And in my simplicity, I granted without thinking anything. Now that guy wants to test that boon on me, on myself, and what will happen to me? The Vishnu said, don't worry, I will distract that guy. So Vishnu then comes and takes the form of a beautiful woman, and it was a demon, you see, an impure soul. And he saw the woman, and then he was attracted. And this woman, Vishnu converted into woman, transformed into woman. Then she started dancing, and he also started dancing with her. And in the dance, during the dance, this Mohini, she puts her own hand on her own head in the dance posture. And as he was copying the dance, this Bhasmasura also puts his own hand on his head. Then what will happen? No need to explain. Then he himself turned into ashes. Then he thanked Vishnu that I was saved. That was Shiva's thing. Anything that is asked for, he is ready to give. Shiva's this powerful. He has a trident also. Trident represents three. This thing represents past, present, and future. Everything is with Shiva. Shiva is often depicted as the form of Trinity who creates, sustain, and destroy the world. Is supposed to destroy the world for the new creation. In fact, destruction repels, this destroying the world and putting into annihilation, it's a repulsive word for us. But destruction is not that. It is like dissolving the world for a new cycle to begin. That is the duty allotted to the form of God in the form of Shiva. Brahma is the creator, Vishnu is the sustainer, protector, and Shiva is the dissolver, which takes back this creation to its original. From that it will be again recasted. It's like suppose you have gold ornaments which are out of shape, and you want new ornaments made of modern style. Then what do? You have to melt. You take it to the goldsmith, and goldsmith will melt that ornament into gold. That melting is not destroying the gold. Gold is not destroyed. It is just transformed into gold for the new creation of a new design. Like that, the world that is the nature, cyclic nature of the world. You cannot stop world from being cycled again and again. Srishti, Sthiti, Vinasha is the world's nature. However, we may try and say that, we will always remain that, the world will never be destroyed. But what is created will be sustained for some time, and whatever is sustained will be again dissolved into the essence, and again will be created. This cycle will go on. So Shiva is not depicted that way, but for the devotees of Shiva, Shiva is the supreme God. He is creator, he is preserver, and he is destroyer. And he is so powerful that by worshipping him, even death is conquered. There is a beautiful story of Markandeya, who one devotee was there who was to die soon. So someone suggested that you worship Shiva, you may conquer the death. Conquering death was very difficult. So he started worshipping Shiva. The god of death came, Yama came, he clasped the Shiva Linga, and they say Shiva came, and Shiva's the retinue came, and they drove away. The Markandeya was saved. They drove away the death. Like that was the story, that when Shiva is pleased, you can conquer anything. Shiva, strangely, is not only ideal yogi, ideal god, the god of renunciates and the monks, but also it's ideal husband. It is strange that such a being who has no clothes, no attraction for the world, smears that ashes, has only rudraksha bead and snakes, and lives in a lonely place in the cremation ground, that is one of the favorite gods of women. Women, to get good husband, will pray to Shiva. Lord, I want husband like you. Like you means what? The one who is unselfish, with all loving. In Shiva's story, we have the story of Shiva and Sati. There was one daughter of Daksha Prajapati. Daksha Prajapati is supposed to be the son of Brahma himself, the creator, and Brahma, his son, Daksha Prajapati. Daksha Prajapati has a beautiful daughter, and by chance she loves the idea of Shiva. And Shiva is her chosen husband. So she prays to Shiva. When her father found that he wanted to get married to this beggar Shiva, he was very annoyed. He very disliked, disapproved this Sati's proposal. But Sati was relentless, and she finally, with all this agreement of her father, she got married to Shiva. Was very happy. One day, she heard that Shiva is her father, Daksha Prajapati, is arranging a big sacrifice, big gathering of the devotees. And in that yajna, the daughter was not invited, Shiva was not invited, and the daughter thought, I should go there and meet all the people that are coming. Everyone was invited, only Shiva was not invited. The Daksha Prajapati didn't like Shiva at all. So this Sati said to Shiva, my father is arranging such a big event, I should go there. Shiva said, you are not invited, why would you go? What to invite? I am their daughter. They will treat me nicely. Shiva said, I will not go. You can go, but be careful against that treatment. When she went there, her father started saying all abusive words to Shiva. Husband being criticized. Husband whom Sati liked so dearly, she couldn't stand, and she just keeps her body in anguish and pain in front of Daksha. Shiva, this news goes to Shiva that Sati has given up her body because he was denigrated, he was abused by his father-in-law. He comes there and then he takes the dead body of Sati, the mother goddess, and then he puts on the shoulder and started roaming out of grief for his wife. So much was his love, though he was not connected with the things of the world, but his love for his wife was second to none. And then he won't let that body go. And he was just roaming and having a destructive dance. Then all gods thought something to be done. The body is dead body, it has to be just disposed. But Shiva is not letting it go. And he is totally enraged. So they approached Vishnu. Vishnu said, I will do something. I will slowly cut that limbs by limbs, part by part, and that body will be gone. Body of Shiva, body of Sati. So Shiva was roaming and Vishnu came behind and started cutting limbs by limbs and parts by parts. And all over India, those parts fell. Wherever those parts of Sati fell, today in 51 places it fell, they say, all over India, and each place is supposed to be a great place of pilgrimage called Shakti Pitha, the place where Mother Divine is very prominently manifested. Worshipping there is great merit and their prayers are granted. That is the belief. And finally Shiva saw the Sati whom he was carrying is gone. So, and he became normal again. This Sati, she died there, but as her love for Shiva was great, she was born again as the daughter of Himalayas, as Parvati or Uma. And from her child, and this Himalaya was devoted to Shiva. He was not antagonistic to Shiva like her previous incarnations, Daksha Prajapati. There she prayed for Shiva to get Shiva as her husband, and after long prayer, Shiva came and granted, and he married Parvati. And this Parvati and Shiva, there are many stories. They always leave Ganesha as their son and Kartika as their son, and they live in Kailash. Where does Shiva live? In Himalayas and Kailash. Very remotest area where people cannot easily reach. Shiva's favorite place is that, abode is that. In Bengal tradition, that Parvati comes to the villages in Bengal once a year, and that is Durga Puja in the form of Durga. Parvati is no one else other than Durga, and the daughter coming home from the Himalayas, and so Devi is worshipped as daughter coming home, back home. That's how the Durga Puja goes. Though the divine being, she is the daughter for the worshippers, and that's why the big celebration comes in Durga Puja time. The Shiva becomes, that's why, an ideal for women to get the husband like Shiva. So we have Shivaratri coming on the 27th of February. So how to worship Shiva? Who are really true worshippers of Shiva? What we want to gain by worshipping Shiva? Naturally, Shiva ideal is a very spiritual ideal. It is a detachment is there, service is there, purity is there, like sacrifice is there. So these ideals Shiva represents. So who are true worshippers? So those who have conviction that Shiva ideal is worth striving for. I want to become spiritually very close to Shiva ideal, not attached to this world, and more of thinking of my own self where the divinity resides. And I want to have that spiritual illumination and be in a state of yoga, Shivaite Mahayogi. That is one, those who like the ideal, that one condition. Another condition is, if I worship Shiva truly and with full attention, I can acquire the qualities that Shiva has. That faith has to be there. Without that faith, it won't work. They say with that faith, if you chant the mantra Om Namah Shivaya and offer your that leaf and water, and you have full faith in Shiva, you start in that. And Shiva worship is it's not only one day attempt to get those ideals in our life. That I want to become spiritual only once a year. I keep fast in the morning. I do Shiva Nama Mantra Japam. I chant something and I worship Shiva only one day in a year. That will not suffice. We need to do Shiva worship every day. How to worship every day Shiva? You may not have all the things put on the Shiva day, but trying to manifest those qualities, trying to ward off our weaknesses and our attachments, trying to be more of accepting others, those, and trying to be more equal. There's no one to be rejected. Like trying to decrease the between likes and dislikes, between acceptable and rejectable. Less and less, all become acceptable, all becomes likable. There is no this thing I like, this idea I like, or this person I like, I hate that person. That hatred gets less and less. So when we try to accept all, that is the real worship of Shiva that we can do every day. So can the characteristic of Shiva become our own? They say, yes, of course they can become our own. In fact, the Shiva characteristics are already our own. We are already that pure Shiva. Shivoham, Shivoham. I am Shiva, I am Shiva. That's why it was sung that way. I am already that spiritual light. I am already that. I am not this bound to this body. I know that I in my awareness, in my knowledge, it is always detachment from this body and mind and senses. For me, in my real nature, body, mind, senses are all my instruments. I am that pure light, pure illumination, pure divinity that is unconnected, unconcerned with the changes of this world. So, by worshipping Shiva, I will become more intensively thinking on this, and those qualities will manifest. In fact, the Shiva worship, when we worship Shiva and we pour water on Shiva Linga, is whom do we worship? We worship our own self, our own Atman, externally as Shiva. Shiva that depicted, and this symbolic Shiva is our own self outside. That's why in Shiva mantra there is one beautiful Shiva Manasa Puja, in that it is said, Shiva, you are my Atma. And my intellect is Divine Mother Parvati, and my vital forces are your associates. And this body, O Shiva, is your dwelling place, because you are Atma. This body is your house. And whatever I get as different objects of the world are the objects for your worship. Whatever I see or I hear or I eat, those are all offering to you, O Shiva. This is called Shiva Manasa Puja. Everything we do get connected with the worship of Shiva, connected with Shiva. And when I move around, it's all circumambulating you. It's all around, like one goes around the temple, around the deity, it's going around you. And when I sleep, it's no more a sleep. It is like a samadhi, like it's also my thought is in you. Even in sleep, I am not separated from you. That's the beautiful Shiva Manasa Puja Stotra that is said. When Shiva nature manifests in us, we become like Shiva and we love and serve everybody. Particularly, we have more feeling, more sympathy for the downtrodden, for the poor, and we have the pure and unselfish love for all. When we manifest Shiva nature, Shiva ideal, like Shiva, we accept those who are rejected by others. When we have the Shiva ideal manifesting through our worship of Shiva, then sacrifice becomes very natural to us. We don't think we have, whether I should do or not. This becomes very natural, this sacrifice. Swami Vivekananda went to one very famous Shiva temple in India after going from the West. First he went in India, in the Madras, in Tamil Nadu, South India, there is a Shiva temple called Rameshwaram. The king of that place was very devoted, was a disciple of Swami Vivekananda. So this Rameshwaram temple, the king said, let's go to the temple. Swami Vivekananda went there, he himself has so much of Shiva qualities. So he went there inside, and for so orthodox time it was, and Swami Vivekananda gave a beautiful, king requested him to speak something to the devotees that were gathered there. And Swami Vivekananda gave a wonderful speech, short speech there, what really Shiva worship means. And that speech is inscribed and put on the near the door of that Shiva temple. That Swami Vivekananda says, this is the gist of all worship, to be pure and to do good to others. All worship gist is to become pure and to do good to others. Then he said, he who sees Shiva in the poor, in the weak, and in the diseased, really worships Shiva. You start seeing Shiva in the people who need your service, who need your help. You see them as Shiva. When you start seeing Shiva in them, the next step automatically comes. When you see Shiva in the people poor, your adoration, your worship will go to them as your service, as your help, as your compassion, and that becomes real worship. And the worship of Shiva in the image or in the symbol, with the articles of worship like the lights and central place, are not to be rejected, but they are secondary. That worship doesn't make the worship of Shiva full. To make the worship of Shiva complete, you have to see Shiva in everyone, particularly those who are needy. When one comes and cooks food for the needy people, they just don't do this philanthropic service. Philanthropic service becomes when you are disconnected with the divinity that you are serving. When you count Shiva in the people that you feed, then it becomes philanthropic, it becomes mundane. But when you think that what I am cutting this salad or I am cooking this food, for whom? For the Shiva that resides in those needy people. The Shiva who comes to as the people who are hungry, and it will be taken there and served to those people, and Shiva will be pleased. When those people get the full hot meal and get a smile on their face, then who is pleased? Then Shiva is pleased, because they are veritable manifestation of Shiva. Philanthropy goes away. It becomes real worship of God, worship of divinity, and all your Shiva nature starts manifesting. So we need to connect with everything that we do with the divinity that resides in everyone. Our whole attitude changes, our whole enthusiasm develops, our tiredness goes, our joy increases with this service. And this type of work doesn't happen only in soup kitchen or making salad and soup, but in our daily duty that we perform. When I bring a loaf of bread for my household, or something that I know my wife likes, so when a husband brings for his wife that thing, and he sees the smile in wife's face, and who is pleased? He's not going to please a person, he's pleasing God, the divine being, through his duty, performance of duty towards his wife. And when wife makes beautiful coffee for her husband after her husband comes from home, husband is so happy. You have made so good, so tasty coffee today. Whom does the wife thanks? She thanks to God. When my husband is pleased through my duty, God must be pleased. Everything that we work, the office we go, we were connected with the people, trying to help our colleagues. My colleague is a little unhappy today. What happened to him? Little connection, concern. That all becomes worship of God. That all becomes manifestation of Shiva Ideal. When we try to connect with the people are not people, but God manifesting as the human beings. Shiva residing in them, that becomes Shiva Jnane Jiva Shiva. Then you are connected with God. And every work you do will give you so much joy in your life. That comes only by manifesting our purity, manifesting our Shiva Ideal.